Sorry, we were getting some feedback on somebody. I'm gonna just make sure everybody's got mute on. All right. Again, welcome to the Development Services Task Force meeting for December. Again, glad to have everybody here. We're a little light on stakeholder participation today, but I'm sure some people will jump on. Everybody's time is important. I don't want to delay it any further. Briefly, I'll go over the agenda for today. I'll present the Planning Commission calendar upcoming for 2021. Yvette will talk about some UDC text amendments, the update and the legislative update. We're currently beginning a legislative session at the state level. Then we'll talk about the trust fund balance and trust funds, the building division update, and Luke Fry, the deputy building official update. And then Al will wrap it up with the department report on announcements, revenues and expenditures, and then our metrics and dashboards. So if we pull up, is this on the presentation? Yes. If we pull up the presentation, we can go ahead and.
No, the first attachment, it says TC.
Oh, I'm sorry. The first attachment's for the Planning Commission calendar, so we can show that. Great, thank you. So the 2021 Planning Commission calendar, we have, as you can see on the screen, we'll also be posting this on our website. It's pretty par for the course, similar to last year. Just a reminder, in November and December, we'll only have one meeting each, similar to previous years. And this is again to accommodate for the holidays. Again, this will show you your application deadlines, the meetings, and then for Airport Zoning Commission meetings, which happens quarterly, those are shown on this list as well. Again, this will be posted on the website. Everybody's available to get that. I believe it's already been sent out. If not, we'll send it out again for everyone's reference. In addition, we have a Construction Trade Advisory Appeal Board calendar meeting. Is that on too?
The other attachment?
Yeah, it's the second attachment, I'm sorry. If you can pull that up.
I'm sorry, which attachment are you looking for now?
The 2021 Construction Trade Advisory Appeal Board.
CTT.
Yes, ma'am, thank you.
CTA, yeah, there we go. Great, thank you. So again, the 2021 Construction Trade Advisory Appeal Board, this meeting calendar, again, we meet quarterly. So these are the quarterly assigned dates. Just as a reminder, the chairman can call a meeting, special meeting for any items that need to be addressed outside of the quarterly schedule. Again, this will be posted on our website, just to give everybody a heads up on those dates. As we begin to move through code adoptions as well, we'll start talking about that at these meetings, probably late in the year. We'll talk about that later in this meeting. And that's all I have on those calendars. We have any questions on calendars? I know it's a lovely topic to talk about. But if not, we'll move on to Yvette and the text amendment update and the legislative updates. If you could bring up that presentation, PowerPoint.
Good morning, everyone. Yvette Wallace, Policy Administrator, Development Services. Next slide, please. So on December 9th, 2020, so this past Wednesday, we took the 2020 code amendment, or proposed UDC code amendments to Planning Commission, and they recommended approval. Some of the main proposed amendments that we took to them are city participation, reduced setbacks, reduced restrictions for accessory dwelling units, and then some overall text cleanup to remove redundant and conflicting language. These are proposed or scheduled to go to council on January the 12th, 2021 for public hearing and first reading. And then of course would have a second reading afterwards. Those are posted on our city website, so www.cctexas.com /EDC. And all of the amendments are for public viewing. Any comments that we receive, of course, we will convey to governing body as we move forward. I also wanted to discuss the legislative recap. So I send out a recap to management every Monday for the preceding week. And so as of this Monday, December the 7th, there had been 778 House bills filed, and we're watching 19 of them, and 206 Senate bills filed, and we're watching 4 of them. And some of those main topics that we're watching include concrete plants, affordable housing, floodplain notice for renters, trade licenses, swimming pool enclosures, which is specific to POAs and HOAs, above ground fuel tanks, some zoning issues for housing homelessness and group homes. And so we'll continue to watch this, and we'll provide a more in-depth recap as we go through the process. If anybody's ever been through the legislative process, the bills change throughout the entire process. So I'm just giving you the general topics for now. And once they get a little bit further down the line, we'll go more in depth into the summary of those proposed bills. And that's all I have today. Does anybody have any questions?
Okay, if not, next slide, please. Hello, everyone. Al Raymond, Development Services. I'll be going over the trust fund balances and the city participation balance. As you can see, as of October 31, 2020, the trust funds collective cumulative total balance is $771,693.93. And as you can see on this slide, as of now, there are no pending reimbursement requests for the trust fund. So that's first for me. Next slide, please. City participation, the cumulative balance of those buckets is roughly $2.5 million. And the note there says, and I'm sure you already know that the current 2020 bond initiative that was passed did not allocate funds for the city participation. So the $2.5 million is what we have from now until the end of the fiscal year, unless we want to, and we'll look at that in the coming fiscal years. The cases that are pending for the city participation balance is Cayo de Oso, which is a streets participation. We're currently studying that. Royal Oaks Future Units, which is a detention pond or drainage issue. We're currently studying that. And Calico Estates Unit 5, detention pond, and a drainage issue. We're currently studying that. And that's all we have for that. If there are no questions, or are there questions, I should say? Okay, then we'll move on to Development Services Department Building Division update. Michael, or we just go to Mr. Fry.
Next slide, please. Hi, good morning. My name is Luke Fry, Deputy Building Official, and I want to thank Mr. Dice and Mr. Raymond for the opportunity to speak and bring forward some of our concerns that we're having in the building department at this time. I've been here, I think, roughly 6 to 8 weeks, and it's been an adjustment. I came from Houston, and we have a number of things going on here as we are trying to work with the customers and the contractors. And number one thing that I've seen that we had in play was our informational bulletin number 3. This was published in February of 2020. And there's a number of things on this informational bulletin that we want to bring to your attention as a reminder. If you don't have a copy of it, or if you need access to it, please feel free to contact us and we will get you a copy for your review. The main points of this bulletin are as follows. We need a representative on site to meet us on the site to give us access for the job to be inspected, and for someone that we can talk to review what we're looking at. We also need approved city plans on site. Many of the jobs that we're going to currently do not have approved plans, and that's in our building code. And we need that for our inspectors so they can see what has been approved and they can inspect it to those plans. Next, we need form surveys. If you have a tight lot or an awkwardly shaped lot, we need a form survey so that we can verify that your setback is correct, verify that you're not in an easement or over a property line. Getting all these requirements will result in less field inspections for the customer. And that's our goal. Our goal is to create a streamlined process to help the customer and get these projects done in a smoother fashion. Do we have any questions on informational bulletin number 3? Do we have, how many participants do we have from the outside? Just 2 more.
Well, I do have a question.
Okay, thank you.
So this is Moses with MPM. Good morning, everybody. So we had been talking about the approved plans on site, but also talking about getting a courtesy call from the inspector so we can have, you know, a trades guy show up and try to alleviate the minuscule things. You know, I have an inspector who's like, oh, you're missing a joist hanger. And I'm like, okay, well, let me send you a picture. And he's like, no, I got to come back and check it again tomorrow. I mean, why are we doing that? Why? I mean, we had a virtual
A virtual process in place, is that what you're saying?
portion of our business,
Bring it up.
allow everything process in place. But I had an inspector say, no, I don't want to take a picture because, you know, I need to come back and see it. I'm like, it's a joist hanger. I mean, it's one minuscule item in a 3,000 square foot house. I can send you a picture so I can start insulating whatever, or you don't have to come back. I don't have to lose the weekend. I mean, are we going to, and I say this in the nicest way, are we ever going to get smarter? I mean, are we going to get more efficient? Or are we just going to, you know, say, oh, we're going to have to send them back out?
Mr. Raymond, do you want to take it or do you want me to? Because I was
Moses, I know that you're not meaning to insult us and we won't
Of
take
course
it.
not.
We won't take it as an insult, but yes, we are, you know, our job is to facilitate the regulatory process, right? So I think it's a reasonable thing to have someone send a picture of the issue you just described, but everything has to be documented and everything has to be recorded. So, and Luke Fry and I and Michael will work something out so that we are efficient. The process is more streamlined. So we're heading in the right direction, and I think we will get there.
Yeah, and I agree. And I want the inspectors to have the confidence and support from y'all. You know, I mean, obviously there's been some transition between inspectors. So I just hope that they find consistency and we can do things to eliminate going back for minor things. I mean, if it's a major thing, I mean, we want the inspectors. I think every builder on this call will agree that we want the inspectors to find things and we want to fix things because we're the ones who are liable in the end. I mean, because we're the body that people can sue. So, I mean, I want inspections done right. Don't get me wrong. I just think that there's some things that can be avoided. And in case in point, you know, if an inspector calls and it's optional to send your tradesman to meet the inspector, give the tradesman 5 extra minutes, you know, to fix a plug or, you know, I mean, I understand the guy's got 42 inspections that day, but he's going to have 62 the next day if he comes back for that one plug and spend an hour driving all the way back to that site, right? I mean, can we start doing little things like that? If you find something very minor, but the guy is meeting the inspector there and he can fix it 5-10 minutes and the inspector doesn't have to come back, wouldn't we all agree that it's worth that 5 or 10 minutes for the inspector to, you know, sit in his car, write his notes, whatever he's got, and then leave? I mean, does that sound reasonable or am I just, you know, off the wall here?
Moses, we're looking at all those. And again, as you mentioned, the virtual with COVID, that was kind of putting our, toe in the water to try something different that this department's never done. As we move forward into our new software update, we're hoping that the new software will allow us, not only with the update, but then after that update, us modifying our processes within that software. Most of the newer softwares have a mobile or a virtual type of component to it. We're not at that point yet, but we're working towards it. Again, when you talk about having, time to wait for a minute or do something illogical, again, we look at everything and every specific individual item. We'll do our best to work on that, but we're moving forward. We're still, again, working with what we have and trying to better the way that we do that. And again, with the virtual start that we did during the summer months, that may be something that we come back to. We're always looking to do that. So yes, we're trying to improve. Yes, we're working on better ways to be more efficient. And again, the comments that we receive from you guys, that helps us kind of direct our focus on where we can improve those things. Right.
Can I say something? Sure. I mean, I think my biggest concern with that, Moses, is just how do we get the documentation that we need? Right. How do we make sure that the pictures we're getting are for the right address, for the right house, those types of things. So that's really the reason why we want somebody to go back out, not to just have to see it in person, but to make sure that it's the right issue at the right location, right address, all those things.
Agreed. Okay.
Hey, good morning. This is Trey Summers with Hogan. Just to kind of piggyback on that, with the new software that y'all are looking at, does that include a portal where the plans can be downloaded onto the software so that we're not continuing to have to put plans on site?
I'm glad you brought that up. Yes, actually it does. So the entire city is going through a software update, and we actually at the next development Taskforce meeting may bring IT in to kind of tell you the big picture for the city, but we are a big component of that. And with that, we will be converting to the new version of N4, which is 4 years newer than our current version. If you know anything about software, 4-year-old software is an antique. So the new version will have DigiPlan, electronic plan review. It'll have a new portal system. The name of the new portal is called Rhythm for Civics. That new portal system allows you to apply and attach documents to your portal applications. So we are in process of working on that. And again, Peter Collins with the IT department is leading the charge to get the city up to date. And we are hopefully, we've been told we're in the front seat to be one of the first to be rolled out. Again, with that, we'll have a new dynamic portal component, a new electronic plan review component, and we'll have an updated permitting and inspection system. So, yeah, so we'll have a whole new way of doing business at the end of next year.
And keep in mind, that rollout for the world will probably be in 22, probably in 23, but in 21, we'll be laying the groundwork so that we are trained. We're going to reach out to our development community, the entire spectrum, and get everyone trained on this system, because in theory, it allows us to do business electronically. So back to what you said, Trey, yes, then an inspector can go and pull up 2215 Hackberry and pull up the drawings. He can know that there's a permit there. It's just a new world for us, and we're excited and looking forward to it.
Awesome. Thank you all.
Okay, next slide. Sorry.
Back one slide, please. Drainage. There you go. Drainage. Okay. Drainage is our #1 complaint. At least it's the #1 complaint that I hear.
For infill lots.
Yes, we have major issues with infill lots for a number of different reasons, I believe. But whether it's an infill or not, drainage has to be there. It has to be to approved source, and we've listed the section from the International Residential Code on drainage. Surface drainage has to be diverted to an approved source, and that's almost never your neighbor, right? So we just, we're having that issue, and we need to get the drainage plan at plan review, and our inspectors are looking at drainage in the field. You guys have other comments about that?
Well, so if you all will look at this, the picture to the right, you know, what the picture is showing is that the runoff, so yeah, every builder should slope the ground away from the foundation. That's good. But what's bad is that the runoff from the foundation and the construction site is using the fence on the neighbors as quote unquote the barrier or the retaining wall or whatever. And that's just not, you know, obviously something that we would accept. And good design would either put a swale there or an underground drainage pipe that pushes the water to the street or wherever the proper drainage flow is. And these are the things that we are going to be looking at going forward, right? You know, we care about your product, but we also have to care about the built environment that is after your product is built. So when we're asking for some drainage drawings that show that, hey, you're going to put in ditches or swells or piping or whatever to channel the water where it needs to go, that's really what we're talking about, because you would not believe the amount of calls we get from people. And it's not just infill development, as Luke said, it's just, you know, paying attention to what you're doing and caring about what you're doing, right? So that's all we're going to start looking at this and start really requiring it at plan review, showing us how you're going to get the water from wherever it is to where it needs to go. And hopefully you all will certainly comply with this.
Do you have any questions on drainage? Well, we hear so much about it. That was, we would have a question.
Well, I have a question. Or more of a comment. Do you know, this is a picture, well, it doesn't look like it's from the island, because there's regular dirt there. So this is normally happening because, and we've talked about this prior, but this is happening because of the city's freeboard standards and FEMA changes most of the time. Is that correct?
Well, there are, you know, obviously raising a slab is, you know, complicates the design, but it still requires some sort of mitigation, either through French drain, swales, something of that nature. Again, I think a lot of what we see is drainage issues is not always the freeboard, it is impervious cover. So where we're going from a lot with 0 impervious cover to 80% impervious cover, it's just a matter of how we direct that water off. So either through, again, swales, gutters, French drain, something that basically, we just need that confidence that the water that's going to be transposed off that impervious cover is directed to the appropriate area. We are getting some issues with drainage on the island. We're getting some issues on drainage in other locations in the city. So there are a few hot spots on the island, but it actually is a citywide issue that we're getting complaints on. So this is just a reminder to be, you know, cognizant of how your building affects the built environment, even in new neighborhoods where you are building out in phases, how that water is dispersed. I mean, for the most part, you guys know and have already designed for that. But if you have older neighborhoods around you, which may have not been built as high, there is always that relationship that we just want to be aware of.
And Moses, the freeboard is not an anvil around the builder's neck, right? Because it doesn't limit engineering and creativity. Because in sites like this, for example, there's just a lot of house on a little bit of lot. And if someone wants a lot of house on a little lot, then you have to be more creative when you're engineering. It's not a bad thing.
Welcome to Corpus.
Thank you.
Well, the one thing I would like to add to this, because I know I know we're not talking about the other portion, but Mike just brought it up. So when we're building subdivisions, right? And, you know, I've had this problem once in my life about 10 years ago, you know, and a subdivision was built in these, and the backyards were allowed to be sloped to the cotton, corn, whatever fields they were, right? And then you come build a subdivision and you've got to put your subdivision to grade. You know, you got to build above the street, do all the things that will allow you guys to give us a permit for a subdivision. And we can't drop our subdivisions 3 feet lower because 17 backyard neighbors decided to slope their yards to the front or to the back. When you build a subdivision like that, who's the burden going to be put on?
That's difficult to answer. I would always say the last guy in, right? Because you're doing, I assume you have a surveyor out there and your civil engineer who knows exactly what you just said. So you got to mitigate your design, your new subdivisions got to be better than that.
Yeah, the UDC.
You can't go back and hit Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
What? Well, but Mr. and Mrs. Smith are allowed to flood other people, but builders aren't.
Well, again,
You see what I'm saying? You just said we can't, that people can't divert water to their neighbors. And if somebody did that, but there was no neighbor and now the neighbor is there, why is that okay?
But I'm assuming, Moses, and your engineer or you, being the brilliant guy that you are, would have like a swell between your property and their property and move the water where it needs to go.
If I understand.
Well, so that's what I'm saying. The burden's put on the land developer, is what you're saying, regardless of the situation.
UDC says.
Yeah.
UDC says it's on the developer.
So, and again, things to remember as well is when you have developments that are interspersed, or new developments that are interspersed along developments that are 30 and 40 years old, some of these requirements weren't even thought about at the time. So it was just a matter of when those environments were built, it was just to get it away. And, you know, farmers in your particular scenario may have wanted that water to go to their land. But, you know, as things change, we try to do our best to have that interaction between the built environment and the new environment. We're not doing things to burden you specifically, but those rules are being put in place to help mitigate the built environment, any potential impact to them. So yeah, there's always going to be a situation where an older neighborhood may not have had any controls required at the time. And even if it's 10 years old, those rules may have changed based on, you know, recently the Alice 14 was adopted. So that changes, you know, some rules and regulations on rainfall accounts and drainage requirements. So everything changes with that. And again, we try our best to make sure that it's not such an impact on the developer, but there may be an impact on the developer. And that's why we encourage that type of awareness.
Okay.
Next slide.
Okay, next slide. All right, next we want to talk about work without a permit. We have several examples listed. Examples are illegal construction, work started before the plans are issued, trade work started with only the master permit pulled. Each trade requires its own separate permit. This is getting out of hand, or it's been out of hand for some time. So our intention is to enforce the $450 or twice the permit fee, which is according to our city fee schedule. We've also, can we talk about the compliance inspectors?
Sure.
Sure. So we've got 2 compliance inspectors that we have posted and put to our program so they can assist us with all the illegal construction in the city. Do we have any questions about that?
Okay, so
Now, Moses, you don't do illegal construction, do you? Come on.
No.
I thought you were gonna talk.
No, of course not. But I'm going to ask a hypothetical question here.
Okay, we love it.
What's the address?
Yeah, right. Well, you don't have a permit on it yet, so. So illegal construction. I want to make sure I understand illegal construction. If I have a piece of dirt and I want to dig holes in my dirt, is that illegal construction?
Digging holes in your dirt is, I'm sorry.
Well, first of all, how I'm defining illegal construction is I'm defining it as somebody who is performing work without the intention to get a permit, or somebody
Okay.
that knows what they're building is not legal per our code or our development standards, and they're just gonna build it anyway. So
Okay, so
that's
I'm just, yeah, then I'm not going to ask my question. I'm going to leave it alone. I
Okay.
don't qualify.
I'm saying my neighborhood should make drive-throughs.
Yeah, exactly.
Because we have great confidence in you, sir, so thank you for that.
The main thing, again, it doesn't really affect so much the Home Builders Association, the trade associations that work with us. We've got a lot of people that
Do their own.
just individuals, not necessarily home builders, but we have a lot of people doing construction. Maybe they don't know permit requirements, maybe they don't understand. With our compliance inspectors, they're going to be out there looking for things of this nature. We will be enforcing the 450 or double fee, whichever is greater. We just want, again, through you guys that are attending this, this helps spread the word down that we're serious about making sure that construction in the city is permitted, inspected, and is at least up to the minimum code. We're not asking at this point for anything greater than minimum code. Just meet the minimum code, pull your permits, and everybody's great. This helps not only the person that's doing this construction, but it helps their neighbors. It helps people that go to these buildings. It helps everybody in the city have the confidence that when they walk into someplace, be it a home or a business, it's safe. It's safe, and that's really what we're doing here. Again, this doesn't necessarily. This isn't necessarily directed at builders or participants on this call, but we just want it to be out there that we are focusing more on this to really get it under wraps.
Right. And with that, in terms of getting this out to everyone, right? Next slide, please. I guess.
Well, can I just make a comment about last slide real quickly? Is that I think our biggest issue we're having with our customers who are pulling permits is that they're not getting the trade permit, right? So they have their master permit, they got their permit for their house, but then all of their other trades are going to work without their permits. And we want to make sure that everybody's getting their permits before they start their work. Would you guys agree with that?
Yes,
Agreed. Yes.
All right, so the last slide we have for building is the outreach and engagement. We have a desire to work closely with the community. And therefore, we're trying to increase our communications, much like we're doing today. We're going to be developing, we have it in development right now for a newsletter. So we want to have a newsletter that goes out maybe monthly, and also an email notification system where we can put the customers on notice, and you guys can get regular, consistent touches from us, so you know what's happening with us as far as, especially for the building department, for hot topics or code adoptions or code interpretations or things of that nature. You guys want to say something?
No, it's just the way we want to continue to find ways to reach out. Luke and I were talking to a sign contractor, and he didn't know about this meeting, and I thought, wow, how can we get to everyone and everyone who needs to be at this table or just know what's going on in development services. So Lou came up with, hey, maybe we should do a newsletter or an email notification. So it's just us continually trying to get out and touch the community, engage the community, so you can understand what development services is about, how we work for you. So we're going to keep, trying ways so that everyone, you're going to have to cut off the faucet if you don't want to hear from us, but we're going to try to make sure we find all avenues to reach everyone in the entire spectrum involved in the development process. So
And we do have, I did see that we have one of the sign contractors on the call today, so that's good, very good.
Thanks.
Hey, Al, is this, the newsletter that y'all are proposing here, is that where you're thinking you're going to put, the permit numbers and the inspection numbers that I'd requested?
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
And
of
how
course-
do you think that'll kind of when are y'all shooting for the first newsletter to go out?
Oh my gosh, Trey, you're putting us on the spot
Before the Christmas break.
before the Christmas break. Yes, hopefully.
Perfect.
Very good.
Well, looking forward to seeing it.
Very good. Next slide, please. Thank you, Luke Fry. Director's report. I wanted to share something with each of you. You have heard at meetings past that we were looking to adopt the 2021 I-codes in the fall of 21. I want to push that out into 2022, because I want to better prepare my staff, get us more trained, get us certified, just to be better stewards of the code. I think we need more time to do that, and conversely, we need to engage the community as well, and we want to use all of 2021 to do that, right? So that gives us time. We can learn the code. We're familiar with it. We reach out to the community. They can learn the code. They're familiar with it, so that when we do roll up for adoption in 2022, everyone's familiar with it. It's not a surprise. Everyone's rather comfortable with it, and we can hit the ground running. So that's how we're going to handle it, and we're going to put out a schedule of timeline of what we want to accomplish, when we want to accomplish it, and those kind of things, so that we can kind of track our progress as we go. Our November revenues and expenses. Real quickly, we had budgeted for November. Our budget was $967,000 in November. We actually brought in $1,115,000, which is a good thing. That speaks to the development in the community. That speaks to what's going on kind of in the coastal bend. So it's a good thing. However, our expenses were $1,375,000. This is about $260,000 over the money that we brought in. Our expenses are going to gradually creep up because Development Services has hired a lot of people. We have in the budget process, we were approved for certain positions, Luke Fry's position, as you can see, and others. And so we're going to, that's going to creep up, and it's going to look really unbalanced. So eventually, when we look at the fees that we charge, which is, we're a special fund, and that's how we support our operation, we're going to have to adjust our fees accordingly. And we'll talk about that in 2021 as we go through the process. But not to be concerned, it's all part of the overall master plan. Back to the presentation, please. The DFC renovation project, I just want to update you on that. We started that. We engaged an architect about a month ago. We're meeting with him after this meeting to look at initial schematics. And of course, if they're great or good or reasonably good, we're going to share them with you in January. So we're kind of excited about that, because it just means a new footprint here. And I think we need a new footprint here, not just for us, but for you when you come to visit. So we'll update you on that at our meeting in January. With respect to our performance, total permit applications submitted for residential and commercial were 289 for the month of November. 257 were total residential permits. That's new construction, remodels, those kind of things. And 32 total commercial permits, right? The residential submissions, we received, as I said, 257. The total submissions reviewed were 200. And our turnaround time, our performance time was 2 days. Our goal is 3 days, so we're doing relatively good there. For our commercial projects, I said we received 32, we reviewed 22, and our turnaround time was 11 days. Our goal is 10 days, so we're a little off there, but overall, we're still working and headed in the right direction. You may ask, what's the difference between what we reviewed and based on what was submitted? I'm trying to get the group to focus on completeness, right? So no junk in, no junk out. If you give me what we want on the front end, the process on the back end works very much smoother. So if you want to call it gatekeeping, yes, we're doing a bit more gatekeeping because I think it helps you overall, it helps us overall. Our process runs a lot smoother. So I think it's the right thing to do. If you read on down the line there, total permits submitted were 1,437. That's everything. That's residential, that's commercial, that's signs, oversized lows, house move, driveway permits, et cetera, et cetera. That's everything. We issued 970 permits. Total trade permits submitted for our MAP group was 972. We issued 659. In the month of November, we received 6 rezoning applications. In the month of November, we also received 6 plating applications. Eventually, I'd like this, and we have a huge amount of data on development services performance, right? How the group performs at the front counter, how the plan review group performs overall on all of these permits, how the inspectors performs overall. All of that, we're working with IT to put on our website so that you can consume at your leisure, right? Until we can do that, of course, we're going to report it to you here. Like we had said, Trey, it'll be in our newsletter when we roll that out. So that anytime you want, you can always go in and see, hey, where are we? Where can we improve? What are we doing? How good are we doing it? And those kinds of things. So I want to make our operations as transparent as possible. And if there are recommendations or suggestions for improvement, of course, we'll always hear those because we want to perform better. So with that, are there any questions? Our next meeting is January 8th. This is the last meeting of the year. I wanted to wish you all happy holidays. Have a great Christmas. Be safe. And we will see you in January. Thank you.
Thank you all. Y'all have a Merry Christmas.
Thank you.